This is From Ring to Veil, a wedding planning podcast, the PNW's complete wedding resource, with your host, Kim Mills and Shannon Palmer.
Welcome to episode number 4, Timeline for Planning.
In this episode, we are discussing timelines.
Get ready, this is a good one. We'll include a written timeline in the show notes and post.
That way it'll be easier for you to, instead of having to take notes, you'll have them right there. So timelines.
They're a good thing.
Yes, they are. Especially if you're like me and you're very detail oriented and you need a plan.
Yeah.
And you need, stuff in your calendar.
Or you could be like me, and who's a procrastinator. And you have to put it in your calendar because you will procrastinate to the end. And you need to put it 3 days ahead.
Mm-hmm. We'll need to order this on Friday.
I need timelines. This is starting about 12 to 18 months out.
Okay.
You're getting engaged, unless it could be sped up, but this is, this is
ideal.
Ideal time is 12 to 18 months before your wedding date.
And to preface this is not just off the top of our head. We did some research and found out what the general timeline could be.
Right. You have a wedding date. Mm-hmm. You have an idea of a wedding date. Mm-hmm. You need to pick a date range, not really the date.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if you've listened to the Lookout Lodge interview last time, then you would know that the venue you kind of need to be open with your date.
Right.
If you listen to that, they were saying you can have your heart set on a date if it's really the absolute have to have date. Mm-hmm. If not, it's better to kind of have a date range or a couple of dates.
Yeah. Just pick a month.
Right.
First. I want to get married in June. Mm-hmm. June's a popular month. Mm-hmm. You may not get the date in June you want, so you need to be flexible with that. So pick a date range.
Mm-hmm. Approximate guest list. You'll need that to take to your venue to find out if they can handle all of your guests.
And pick your bridal party.
Yeah. And hopefully within the next year, nothing will go awry and you will have the same party that you started with. Because that does happen.
Right. You need to pick also your tentative theme and colors because you need to have that basis for your venues down the line. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And another one, because we know about flowers, be aware of the seasonability. Mm-hmm. The season's availability. That's what I meant to say. Wait, I just invented a new word. Seasonability. Of the flowers. So if you want peonies in December, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. So
the question is, planner or venue first?
I think we're on two different sides of this issue right here. Because I would say venue first. Because that way you know where you're going to have your wedding and what you need to plan for. Mm-hmm. So that's my opinion.
Well, after talking with the girls at the Lookout Lodge, Cricket and Jamie, I'm kind of with you because, first of all, there is a coordinator on staff there at the lodge.
Right.
So she can definitely help you out. Now, if you want somebody with you for every step of the way, then yes, you definitely need a planner. Mm-hmm. But if you already have a planner, they will have their preferred vendors. Mm-hmm. And of course, you don't have to go with them. That's totally up to you. But if you go with your venue first, they're going to have their preferred vendors. And of course, you don't have to go with them, but they know these people and they work with them.
And they know the venue too. So they know what can be set up, how it could be set up and things like that.
So I'm kind of I'm going with the venue first now. Yeah. I've kind of changed my mind.
So once you have your venue and you have your date that you want your wedding on after you visit the venue, that's the time where you start thinking about what vendors come next.
Right.
So,
which includes a planner if that's what you need. Mm-hmm. And they're very helpful. They really are.
Right. This is the time to set your wedding budget. Mm-hmm. I know that's a big question of, who's going to pay for what and things like that. But you also need to realize you need to budget per vendor enough to have the things that you want. Like if you want elaborate flowers for your for your venue and your wedding, you need to make sure you have the right amount of budget for that. Same goes for catering and your cake and things like that. So there are so many things out there that tell you, what percentage of your budget to put for what. So like you have your $30,000 budget. There's different percentages that you can do for different things. Like your photographer is like a 10% of your budget. So flowers are 10 to 12%. Catering, it's a big expense.
It is.
So you mean that's like 20 to 25% of your budget. There's also things that you can or you can't plan for in your budget. Like your wedding dress is usually not in your budget because your parents, somebody else pays for that or whatever. Your ring, is not in your budget.
Right.
Because you didn't pay you hopefully didn't pay for that.
The groom is supposed to buy that.
So, there are things that need to be in the budget and things that do not. So if you have a set budget, just remember that, the percentages need to be appropriate.
Right. And also asking the vendor themselves and even the venue, what percentage should I put away for this specific thing?
Right.
They're very helpful in that. They know. They know better than anybody else how much it's going to cost you.
Right.
So if you're still confused as how much to allow for floral or catering or photography, ask them. Right. Ask somebody, an actual photographer or florist. A little tidbit on the venue. Fridays and Sundays are a little bit cheaper. Only because Saturdays are very sought after.
Right.
So if you're okay with the Friday or Sunday, go for it.
That is if you can get all your guests to show up.
That's
Fridays
true.
or Sundays.
It might be more intimate that way, even.
It's a good way to cut your wedding guest list.
Yes.
Anyway, 8 to 6 months out is when you really need to start picking your vendors and getting your dates booked in and things like that. So your photographer and videographer, your band or DJ musicians for the ceremony need to be hired and booked.
8 months.
Yeah, 8 months out. So you need to meet with your caterers, go over your menu, or even taste their food. You don't really have to go over your certain menu then, but taste their food. Make sure they're well suited for your venue and your tastes. You need to book your bartenders. Because most venues, like we had in the interview, they're not included.
Right.
So you need to book your bartenders. The bartenders know the rules, know the laws.
And can tell you what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Right. Start your dress search.
That's right. If you're looking at designers.
Right.
Definitely.
Hotel rooms. You need to start looking, if you're having it at a hotel, you can block a certain amount of rooms. You need to do this early in case it's a busy weekend in the city that you have your wedding in. And because they won't have enough rooms available. If there's a big convention that weekend and you're at a popular hotel that's close to like a convention center or something like that, they're not going to have the rooms available. So you need to book your hotel rooms.
Register. You get to register. That's the fun part.
Shopping.
A couple things from us who've been there, done that. Register for things that you need.
Right.
Rather than, oh, this looks nice. Oh, that looks nice. Let's get China. And, really, I would say, really put the things that you need and truly, really want.
Right.
Because that's what you're going to get.
And don't limit it to kitchen items or towels. Go look in what do you need for your house?
Exactly.
You need like
lamps.
A lawnmower.
True. Yeah.
Lawn equipment, rakes, shovels, things like that, because it's not just the bride who gets these gifts. It's also the male, the groom. So, broaden your search for items that you want for your wedding. Water hose.
Yeah.
Just things like that. It's also time to launch your wedding website to keep your guests up to date on things. Like you can put your information in there, like the venue. Also, where have you registered? So they'll know where to go to shop for you and things like that.
Because some people are planners like some of us and want to get a gift early.
Okay, so 6 months out, make sure you know who you're going to send the invitations to.
Right. Get their addresses.
Right.
Because you're going to need those. Now, That's, if you're going to do either online or paper. Because
Right.
I think nowadays people are for either one. Even though a lot of people are more traditional, want to do the really pretty, awesome invites. I'm telling you, there's some beautiful stuff out
Right.
there.
And now since, the computer age and graphic designers are doing lots of invitations and things like that. Some of them can be really elaborate and really cute. There's a whole bunch of different options out there for you. So you need to purchase your invites. Stationery designers are really good for that. You can do them online. You can contact a local vendor for that, which is what we prefer.
Right. We do prefer that. It's also time to start planning a honeymoon. Now, if you're leaving it all up to your husband, or the groom, I should say, then you might just kind of give him a little nudge. Hey, honey.
Yeah, maybe a list of here's where I want to go.
Because there's all different ways to do this. Sometimes you go directly to the honeymoon right after the wedding. Some people wait a while. Some people wait a year and do it on their first anniversary. But if you're going right after your wedding, it's time to make some reservations.
Right. If you're going to a faraway destination, sometimes you need to stay over the night after your wedding. So you need a place to stay there too. So you might need to think about that. Start to pick your bridesmaids dresses. Get your bridesmaids in on this. They don't want to look ugly.
Yes.
I know, we know it's the bride's day, but no one wants to have ugly bridesmaids dresses.
It's the couple's day.
Yeah.
Not just the brides. We're trying to include the groom a little more here, but even his people are not going to want to wear
ugly tuxes.
Yeah. I was trying to say it nicely, but
No.
ugly tuxes. Yeah.
Ugly tuxes. Pick your officiant. This is 6 months out, so you need to start looking for that awesome officiant to officiant
Yes.
your wedding.
That's right.
I know that's not a real word, but to guide you in your wedding. Because sometimes you need to take couples classes before they require that if you're getting married into a church or things like that. So you need to start doing that as well.
So it's time to send your save the dates, either in paper or e-card form. Send those out. Let the people know we're getting married in 6 months. You're coming.
Yes.
If you're in need of lighting and pipes and drapes and that kind of stuff for your ceremony and reception, it would be a good time to find a lighting designer, which that's a real thing.
Right. And they can enhance your wedding, especially the lighting. If you have a reception and you're in a hotel ballroom, the lights are really high or they're really harsh and things like that. So a lighting designer can put pot lights around, can spotlight your wedding floral on the tables and make them come alive in the photos.
That's so pretty.
And things like that. And it may not be out of your budget. DJs sometimes have lighting. So you can ask them if they have a package for all of that too. So just check with your vendors. It's time to book your florist. Yay. We know a lot about that. Have your wedding colors set by then. And research flowers. That's my advice to a bride. Research your flowers, what kind of flowers you want. Research if they are in season. If they are in season, they are cheaper. So if you have a wedding in March, peonies are your favorite flower. Peonies are in season in March. Tulips are in season in March. You can get tulips year round, but they're going to be cheaper in March.
Right. There are cost-effective ways to get the flowers that you want. Just be aware of when they are offered and when they are in season.
Right.
And some florists also offer decor. Not all of them. So if you went with a florist that doesn't, then you would also need to find a decor company.
Right.
There are a lot here in this area that offer some really good, either vintage or modern or whatever it is your style. You can rent instead of having to purchase a lot of decor items.
They have lanterns or candelabras, things like that would enhance your ceremony and receptions. Transportation. Your limos, your buses, if you need a special antique car to go have your getaway car in, things like that, you need to look for vendors for that and book those as well. You need to start a timeline of your day for your
day of ceremony.
It's good for your vendors. It's good for the people that are in your ceremony, like your bridesmaids, your maid of honor especially. So she can, when you're busy, she can take field phone calls and deal with the planner and say this needs to happen when and when. So
I know this isn't a podcast about bridesmaids and such, but use her. That's what she's there for.
Right.
Let her help you make this the best day.
And it'll take some of the stress off of you.
Mm-hmm. And she's happy to help. That's what she said yes for. Mm-hmm. All right. So now we're moving on to 5 months. 5 months out from the wedding. Start with your rehearsal dinner venue. Find a restaurant, your home, your aunt's home, whomever is going to host this. Sometimes even the venue that you're going to be married at will offer a rehearsal dinner option.
Verify your wedding invitations. When you get the proof back from your wedding stationery supplier, make sure it has the right information on it. Everything's spelled correctly.
The right address.
Right. Because you don't want your guests to put the address in their GPS and not be able to find it.
Exactly.
It's time to order your cake.
Cake testing? Are you kidding me? That's one of the fun parts again.
Take your groom for that because the grooms like cakes.
Yeah, that's right. And it'll make them feel really special. Right. Some of them probably don't care, but, take them anyway. If you're having a shower, send a guest list to the shower host, or if it's the maid of honor, whomever is hosting your shower, get them a list of your guests so that they will be prepared.
Make sure you also tell them if you want to have a personal shower, like a lingerie shower, things like that, or a household shower, maybe more for the other people in your family, like your aunts and your cousins and things like that, that you don't really want.
New in-laws.
Yeah, the in-laws. You don't really want to be in the personal shower.
Yeah.
So.
The lingerie shower.
Yeah.
Wedding shoes and dress fittings. If you're buying a dress that needs to be altered, you're going to have a few fittings to go to. So this would be one of your first fittings, I imagine.
Right. You need to schedule your makeup artist and your hair designer.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes they do the same.
Hair designer is the right word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. As a former hair designer, yes.
You need to start picking and choosing your music for your reception and ceremony, I guess. Mm-hmm. If you wanted traditional ceremony music, like the traditional wedding march and things like that, you can pick that. Or you can pick something out of the norm.
Yeah, I did. So I sure did. And you also need, for your musicians, if you're going to have them at your ceremony and your reception.
Right. You need to pick your first dance song, the father-daughter dance, the mother-son dance, things like that.
Moving on to 3 months. 3 months out.
You need to finalize your catering menu with your caterer vendor and the floral arrangements. This is probably your second floral appointment and your second catering appointment where you pick and choose your flowers and things like that.
Or change what you thought you originally wanted.
Right.
You found out, there's a couple of people who are allergic to something and you want to make sure that you don't have that at your wedding. So if you're offering favors from your wedding, such as kettle corn or s'mores or candy bags, if you're having that, it's time to get those set up and in place and ordered. If you're going to, some people DIY that. They do their own little cute, really, really cute tables.
Right. That matches your theme.
Exactly. Yeah. Some brides DIY, but there are also companies that offer these that you just say, I want this, this, and this. They come up, set it up. I'm telling you, if you can work it into your budget, do it. Less stress.
Right. You also need to finalize the list of people giving toasts at your wedding. Your fathers, the mothers, the maid of honors, the best men, or anybody else giving a toast at the wedding. Also, if you're having readings during the ceremony, this would be the time to ask the person to read a certain passage or things like that, or sing a song.
Mm-hmm. Purchase your bridal lingerie.
Aww.
Purchase it, put it away, hide it, don't show anybody.
So, and after you purchase your bridal lingerie, you need to have another dress fitting with your bridal lingerie on. So you need to schedule that at least 3 months before your wedding.
If that's the route you're going.
Right.
Next, you would need to finalize the timeline for your ceremony and reception. And that's just saying, okay, I'm walking down the aisle at this time. We're starting the recessional at this time, just get it all figured out. We don't have a specific timeline for that right now.
Right.
Do we?
No.
Day of. Okay. We don't have that one yet, but we will in later podcasts.
And we'll probably have a planner come in and talk about that as well. So
exactly.
You need to finalize your catering, which means you need to talk to your invitation supplier again so they can print out the list of what's going to be on your menu. Programs. Mm-hmm. You need to purchase your wedding rings at least 3 months in advance because sometimes they need to be sized. They don't have your size. So
exactly. And you need to send event schedules to your vendors. This is very important. As a vendor, it's really nice to know what your schedule is going to be so that we, as vendors, can be there on time.
Right. And the schedule of when the ceremony starts, when it ends, because sometimes you have to transfer things from the ceremony to the reception. So we need to know when that ends so we can get things moved around.
Exactly. Moving into 2 months. Oh, it's getting exciting.
It's getting closer.
Set your final meetings with all your vendors. Meet with your photographers and discuss shots that you want and are needed, that you expect. Meet with your floral designer.
This should be your final meeting. This is the, the flower list has been done. The design has been chosen. You can no longer change it because a florist needs at least a month to, make sure the flowers are going to be there and they have the right amounts.
And are ordered and all that kind of stuff. This is also a good time to send a playlist to your DJ or your band if you haven't already discussed that with them.
It's time to send out those wedding invites you picked 5 months ago.
So they already got their save the date. They know you're getting married. They're eagerly awaiting your invites to see what you've done with those things.
Right. Also, if you're doing wedding announcements in the newspapers and things like that, it's time to put them in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's done a whole lot anymore, but, some people still like the tradition of it.
Right. It's also time to start planning the bachelor parties and the bachelorette parties with your groomsmen and your bridesmaids.
And that's a fun time. So enjoy doing that. Update your RSVP list. Who have you heard from? Who you haven't? And I assume that you would probably want to update your vendors, your venue, with that kind of thing.
It's time to start researching your marriage license. Some states have a limit on how long you can have one.
Right.
If it's only 30 days, you need to wait a little bit longer, but research that so you know the times that you can go get your marriage license.
Because don't forget, you're going to need one.
Right.
Next, contact your rehearsal dinner guests and family and bridal party and let them know where it's going to be, when it's going to be, and see if there are any requests or, again, allergies and all that kind of stuff.
It's also time for your final dress fitting. This is the final time that you can get your dress altered or changed.
Have all your weight lost if that's what you're planning or whatever you're doing by this time.
Mm-hmm. Final count to bartenders, caterers, and the venue. Your final payments to your vendors.
It's very important. Don't forget that because if you do, you may not end up with what you wanted.
Right.
Confirm all the venues at that time. Times of delivery, times of pickup, when exactly they need to be there, when can they be there. Some of them like to be there very early. So this is the time to confirm all that.
It's now 30 days before your wedding.
Very exciting.
You need to start booking your spa appointments. You want to look pretty for your wedding day. You need your nails done. You need a facial. You need your eyebrows plucked and shaped. You need, to schedule that all important waxing.
Mm-hmm. All that fun lady stuff. Mm. And you know what? You can also, which I don't know if we have this here, but think about the groom too. He might want to look good. He might want to have a grooming session with somebody, which there are groomers now. They will, give them a haircut, shave, all tweeze, wax, whatever they need.
Because some men are furry.
So it's also time to book their treatments.
You need to start breaking in those wedding shoes that you're only going to probably wear for a day if they're special. But you need to start walking around and practicing in them.
Loosen them up.
And so they won't hurt your feet the entire time you're wearing them during your wedding.
Yeah, and find out if you can wear them through the reception too.
Right. And if you can't, you need to find some alternative shoes.
Exactly.
Some sneakers.
Seating charts, if you're doing them.
Oh, seating charts can be so stressful.
This is where I see a planner helping you.
Right.
This is one of those big jobs. Unless you just are meticulous and want to do it yourself.
Right.
I see somebody helping you.
The planner can also help you keep Uncle Johnny away from his ex-wife, Aunt Jane, your Aunt Jane. Because if you have people in your family that don't quite get along, you don't really want them at the same table.
Right.
So planner is good at changing those around.
That's right. Bridesmaids' gifts, groomsmen's gifts.
They need to be bought.
And, we'll probably discuss this more on a later show. But at this point, it doesn't have to be something huge and very expensive.
Right.
Something meaningful.
That's the key.
Meaningful.
Yeah. You need to pick up your gift for your groom, and the grooms need to pick up their gift for their bride. It's tradition.
It is tradition. I'll give you a tip. My gift for my husband, I had the date of our wedding, our anniversary date, engraved on the inside of his wedding band. It's just to mark the occasion, but also as a reminder.
And to remind him, I thought, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's my anniversary.
He had no idea. So when we were, later on, I was like, take off your ring. I want to give you your gift. And he's like, what? And so I tell him, look on the inside. And it, said a little something, and then it had the date. So I always thought that was really sweet.
It's time to write those all important vows if you're doing your own vows. And it's also, if you're doing traditional vows, there are many different ways to say the vows. So you need to pick which traditional vows you're going to go with, what they're going to say in those vows.
Or if you're going non-traditional. Right. Time to get your hairs done. If you need a dye.
Oh, yes. If you need a haircut or your hair dyed or things like that, you need to do that at least 3 to 4 weeks before your wedding. So you're not going into your wedding looking like you just got your hair done.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, because as a former hairdresser, and probably people who do get their hair colored on a normal basis, or even if you don't, it takes a week or so, maybe 2, for that color to really settle in and not look so, bam, I just got my hair colored. That type of thing. And even, you can even work with a stylist and say, I would really like to try this style and see how it looks on my hair.
Right.
Or on my head. Another thing to make sure everything goes smoothly on that day.
Right. It's the week of your wedding. Delegate. Take the stress off of you and give it to your maid of honor. Or your other bridesmaids. They can help with all the tasks that need to be done that day, done this week. Picking up guests from airports, someone to, make sure that there's someone in charge of getting your gifts home, because you are not going to be worried about that at the end of the wedding. You're going to be worried about getting to the hotel for your wedding night and off to your honeymoon. Rental returns, handing out tips to your vendors. That's very, very important. You say tips to your vendors.
Exactly.
We will talk about that in a later date. The point of contact person for each vendor, just so the maid of honor or whoever is handling the rentals and stuff after the wedding, to make sure that it gets back to the right person.
Right. If the final payment is due on that day, the vendors they don't really want to come bother you as the bride getting ready that day.
Right.
It's much better if you say, you will see my, maid of honor that day, or my mother-in-law. Don't forget you have your mother-in-law, which a lot of times, if they're able, they want to help.
Right.
So use them too. And pick up your dress. Don't forget to pick up your dress.
Yes.
This week of the wedding.
Yes. And pack for your wedding night and honeymoon, because you don't want to leave that at the last minute.
Right. You don't want to forget anything.
So we're at the wedding day. and you have everything planned.
You have everything. If you go by this, you will have no stress. Everything should be smooth and easygoing and a happy day.
Right. Just remember to delegate.
Yes.
That's my most important advice for any bride or groom. That's why you have help. You have parents, you have your friends, you delegate responsibilities.
And if you have a day of coordinator, they would be a good resource too.
Right.
They're going to be there to help you. And if they can't, they can tell you who to help, who should be your, point of contact or whatever.
Right.
So we will do a day of timeline list, give you some more options on that at a later date. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, and please leave us a rating or review.
Until next time, no stress, no worries, keep calm and listen on. Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Facebook, From Ring to Veil, on Twitter, @From Ring to Veil, and on our website, FromRingToVeil.com.
If you have any questions, please contact us at info@ringtoveil.com, and we would love to discuss those on the show.